Today we are going to be looking at a sphere. So we've done prisms, we've done cylinders, we've done pyramids, and we've done cones. So today what we're looking at is a sphere. A couple things that you just need to know as far as terminology. The one that is the most important to us as we're looking at our formulas for today is our radius. And you guys already know what the radius is in terms of a cylinder and in terms of a cone. Now we're just extending that to the three-dimensional sphere. If we look at where this arrow is pointing here at the bottom, this is pointing to the center of the sphere, and the one on top is pointing all the way to the middle, so that one is the diameter. And then the one that is probably the newest terminology to you guys is the great circle. And if you look over here to the right, the great circle slices the sphere into two hemispheres. So you can think of it kind of like the equator or something of that nature. It is this whole circle around the outside. The reason it's a great circle and not just a circle is because technically there are circles going around this latitude and longitude of the Earth. The great circle just happens to be the biggest one. Okay? So as you look at this, the formulas, this is probably the easiest formula in terms of how to use it. The hardest part is punching it in your calculator. Prior, we had to know like radius and height, or radius and slight height. Now you just need to know the radius. So as we look here, all we're doing is plugging in our radius into that formula. So we have 4/3 pi 7 to the third power. And so you're not using the square button on your calculator, you're using the little button that looks like this. So you're going to type in 7 to that button, and then 3. So if you don't know how to use that button, please make sure that you ask, because that is probably the hardest part of today. So as you're entering this in, again, we want to use pi, not 3.14, and our approximation to the hundredth is 1,436.76, since we're talking volume, cubic inches. Again, if you have problems punching this in your calculator, please just ask. So as you look at number 2, the only difference for number 2 is they give you the diameter instead of the radius, so we have to divide that by 2 to get 16.5, and then we're plugging in 16.5 for your radius. So type this in, punch your own button, 4/3 times pi times 16.5 to the third power gives us a value of 18,816.57. Do not be intimidated by large numbers. As soon as you start cubing numbers, the number grows quickly. All right. Now, if you look at surface area is slightly different. It is 4 pi r squared. All right, 4 pi r squared. So if you think about the area of a circle, it's actually 4 of those areas that cover the outside of the sphere. So what you're doing, 4 pi, plugging the radius in, and solving. So 4 pi times 2.8 squared gives us a value of 98.52 units square meters. So go ahead and try out number 4 for us. Hopefully you're plugging it, you recognize that it only has a radius of 12. So if we do 4 pi times 12 squared gives us a value of approximately 1,809.56. And again, since this is area, square millimeters. So anytime you're talking volume, you're doing cubic units. Anytime you're talking surface area, you're doing square units. Now the hemisphere for me personally, I don't like to memorize a new formula necessarily. So instead of using 2/3 pi r cubed, I always think about, I'm going to use that 4/3 pi r cubed of the sphere, and then I'm going to divide it by 2. And the reason that this consolidates down to this formula is if you divide 4/3 by 2, so if we just combine these parts, that's where 2/3 comes from. Okay? So when we look at the volume, I'm going to have you guys go ahead and figure out at this point what is the volume for number 5. Hit me up with the answer on the end puzzle, and I'll give you guys some feedback. Number 6, similar idea. Your radius though is 9, and so you can either do 4/3 pi 9 cubed divided by 2, or if you want to use the 2/3 formula, 2/3 pi radius cubed. Either way, you're going to get the same answer. It's just a matter of having to punch a couple extra buttons on your calculator. And when you do so, you get a value of 1,526.81, and then our units would be cubic feet. If we look below, okay, notice this is surface area. Now, one of the things I want to point out to you is this formula, okay? So I know that the picture to the right here on number 5 that you answered for volume, that we did volume for, we're not asked to do surface area. I'm just going to use this for reference, okay? So you probably think, well, I'm just going to do 4 pi r squared divided by 2, just like we did the volume. The only problem is that gives you 2 pi r squared. And the reason that is if you do 2 pi r squared, that gives you this part of the sphere, the outer part, or excuse me, that part of the hemisphere. The problem is you also want to include this circle. So if you include that circle, you're going to add another pi r squared, which is where the 3 pi r squared comes from. Okay, so again, that 2 pi r squared gives you the curved part of the hemisphere. With another pi r squared gives you that flat circle. So together that gives you 3 pi r squared. So let's try out number 7. So you got 3 pi 14 squared. So 3 pi times 14 squared is going to give you a value of 1,847.26. We're again talking surface area, so area is square units. So go ahead and try out number 8. Let's figure out what we have. Again, answer that within your ed puzzle. All right, the last one that we're going to do today is this question here, number 9. We are looking at a word problem. I know a lot of you guys dislike word problems, so let's kind of break it up. So it says, find the volume of a sphere with a great circle area of 201.06 square inches. Now, we eventually want to get to the volume of the sphere. So the volume of that sphere is 4/3 pi radius cubed. We are given the circle area. So that means circle area is pi r squared equals 201.06. So we're going to use what I wrote there in blue to solve for radius. So 201.06, we're going to divide by pi as a first step to get the radius squared by itself. When you do so, you get approximately 64. And then you do the square root, which gives you then a radius of 8. So now I can come over here to the right-hand side, and I can plug in that radius of 8. And now I can just punch 4/3 times pi times 8 to the 3rd power, and I get a value of approximately 2,144.66. Our units are inches, but since it's volume, it's cubic inches. Okay. We are going to go ahead and do the other problems at the end of your notes tomorrow together. So what I would ask for you to do is make sure, ask any questions that you have, specifically if you have questions regarding how to punch in this information on your graphing calculators. Or excuse me, on your calculators, not graphing calculators. So as always, ask questions if you have them. Otherwise, that's it. Thanks.